Welcome to Code with Kurt. In this video, I'm going to show you a program that I wrote in Google Sheets that keeps track of the coronavirus cases. And basically what this does is you select a country. We'll just pick one here, say Brazil, and we hit submit. And then from there, it's going to pull back the daily total up until this point. So at 3/2/29 they had 4 cases as a whole country. On 3/7 they had 13 cases as a whole country. And you can see how it just grew up till 3/28. And then I have a graph that keeps track of this. And basically where this data is coming from is this API website from Postman giving this coronavirus API. The two I'm using is country right here that lists the country and the slug, which is I use this information to grab the country total as part of my input right here in the URL to come back with this information, and then I'm basically recording it on this Google Sheets. So I'm going to basically show you a step by step of how I put this together. So let's get started. First, I'm going to start a new Google Sheet. I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to New and Spreadsheet. So I started my new sheet. I'm going to give it a name. There we go. I'm going to start by giving it all the necessary fields. And this is going to be my drop down right here. And I'll build that later. I'm going to do my table here. And I'm going to give this just a little color here. Kind of separate it out. Like that. Maybe make it a little bigger here too. Bold that up. There. Make this a little bigger. Bold that. Give it about 12. Make it a little bigger than that. 18. And then slide this over a little bit. So that's going to be my drop down. I'm going to call this sheet, rename it data. And I'm also going to create a new sheet called country. And this is basically going to be my list of values for my country. I'm going to populate this here with an API, and then I'm going to use that for my list of values. So let's start by creating a data validation, and we're going to do list from range. Select my range. I'm going to go here, start here. I'm going to go down. You can take it all the way down to 1,000, even though there's not 1,000 countries out there, but I will just fill it in here. There. That gives us plenty of room, and we're not going to utilize all that space. So there we go, and that should be it. And we'll hit save. Go back to data. Now we got to drop down. Next, we're going to build our country script. And this is going to basically get the countries that we're going to need for our list of values for our drop down here. And we're going to populate this sheet with the countries that we are going to be using this data for. So I'm going to go to Tools. I'm going to go to Script Editor. And then from here, I'm going to fill out, create my script. So I'm going to call it get countries. I'm going to start by calling the API first. So I'm going to go variable. I'm going to get the URL of the API I'm going to call. So I'm going to do the country one here. So I'm going to copy that, paste it over here, close that. Now from there, I'm going to grab it and take the JSON response and convert it into an array that I can work with in this function. So basically this command converts it into a data array. Next I'm going to go to the sheet that I'm going to be populating. Get active spreadsheet. Sheet by name. Country. Next I'm going to clear it just to make sure everything is, nothing's there anymore on that sheet. So we get that done. Next I'm going to start populating. So I'm going to take this data and put it into a for loop. Oops. Start my for loop, end it down here. And now I'm going to grab country. I'll type this out and then I kind of explain it here, what I'm trying to do here. So I'm looping through here, and for each array that I'm going through, I'm grabbing country and slug. And I could kind of show this over here with this API. So for each count, so this would be 0, 1, 2, I'm grabbing country and the slug in this script. And then from there, I'm going to populate it for the next available row. So I'm going to grab the current row. Basically, this will get me the row that is last populated on the sheet with this last row command here. And then from there, I will set the value for that row. go +1. I'm going to go to the next one, which is empty. And then column A. And I'm going to set value. Is, oops, country. And then the next column over, I'm going to set with the slug 2 here. So that is it for the for loop. Let me get rid of these extra spaces. And then the last thing I want to do is I want to make sure we get back to our data sheet, even though we might never gone over to the country sheet, but I want to make sure we take ourselves back to the main sheet after this gets done. And then we're going to make that active. Activate. And there we go. That's our get country script here. We're going to save that. We're going to give it a name. So I'm just going to name it the same thing I named roughly the same thing. I'll just call it script. There we go. So we'll hit OK. And then basically we're just going to run it from here to see if it works. Make sure all our errors are cleared out. Make sure I'm not missing anything here. So we go ahead and run it. And now we get this authorization required. So we're going to go through here and we have to allow Google to give us permission to run this script. So we're going to go review permissions and we're going to pick the account. We're going to go to advanced, go with Corona cases scripts, unsafe. And a lot of this has to do with it's calling an API as well. So we're going to allow. And there it goes, it starts running. And we can actually go over here and see if it's working. And there we go, it's populating the country and the slug over here. And from there, we'll just kind of wait till it gets through all the countries that it has listed in this API. And once this done is we can actually cut over. We can see if our drop downs working here too. So here's our drop down. I have to fix this too. Our drop down is actually showing too many, and I think I messed up on the range coming in here. We don't want to go to B. We want to actually go to A here and save that. Now we should just have a list of all the countries. There it is. So now we got that all working. So I can select a country now. And we can make this just as big as country here. So it's going to be 18. And we can make that bold. Just kind of bring it in a little more. Bigger, and you can see it better. So next we're going to create a button to reset our countries. And the reason for that is more and more countries can report, so they'll be more populated. So there could come a time in April where there's another country that starts reporting cases. So we want to actually pick up that country. So we'll create a button here that we can run the script to reset all these. So clear it and reload it again. So I'm going to go to data. I'm going to go to So I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to go to Drawings. And I'm going to select a shape that looks close like a button. We'll go with this one. I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to put Reset. Countries. I'm going to go to these. So we're here. I'm going to bold it. I'm going to bring it into the middle. And that looks good enough for me. So I'm going to hit OK. Click on this. I'm going to move it over here. Kind of away from everything. I might bring this down to kind of, oops, kind of back that off here, whatever I did there. Okay, I'll bring this over here. I'm going to lower this, make this a little bigger, kind of put the button in the same line as row 1. And we're going to have a submit button as well, so we'll do this, and then we're going to attach the function we created from the previous screen, which is get countries, to it. So this is going to call get countries every time this button's pressed. So I'm going to hit OK, and then let's give that a test. Make sure that's working right. So I'm going to script run. I'm going to look over here. We're down a row. I'm going to go back up here. Okay, so now it cleared it and it's resetting them. And then our drop-down list is populating as well as more and more countries get on there. Test, 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 test. Next, we're going to build our script to get the data for the date and cases for each country. And we're going to call another API to do that. So I'm going to go back over to our script screen where I got my get countries, and I'm going to start a new function down below here called get data. The first thing I'm going to do is get the datasheet data activated, because that's where I'm going to be applying the data to. Statement before that. Got those two things. We're going to make datasheet active. There we go. Next, we're going to get the country that was selected in the drop down. We're going to the spot where the drop down is. Then we're going to get the value. And apply it to country. Next, we're going to clear the data for the cases and dates. So every time we select a country, we're just going to refresh the screen. So we're going to clear everything out and then bring new data in. So the first action is to clear it. we're going to start with A4, which is the first row of our table. Down to what I have here is the current row. Basically, the current row is the last row that's populated. So I'm going to tag that onto B, and that gives us our range. Then we're going to clear that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the country sheet and grab our slug so we can use that for the next API. We're going to get the last row of the country sheet because we're basically going to loop through the entire sheet to find what we need. And we're going to do a for loop here. So we got our for loop, and next we're going to do a condition. So we're going to look at the column A, and which one ever equals our drop down. Then we're going to go to column B right next to it and grab the slug. So I'm going to start with an if statement. One is our column A. We're going to get the value. Country. And we're going to assign our slug to column B. So J is our row that we keep going through. Basically, we're going through the whole sheet, and then whenever we find our country on the A column, then we're going to grab the column B where our slug is, right next to it. So now we got our slug assigned. Get rid of these extra spaces here. So next we're going to call our API. We're going to build our URL first with the slug in it. We're going to get, go over to this one. We're going to go to country total. We're going to grab this one, bring it back over. And we're going to start with this, but we're going to, instead of United Kingdom here is what they were using in their example here. We're going to add the slug here. So we're going to do close that off, concatenate, slug, and then concatenate the rest of this. So we got a URL string there for the API call. Next we're going to call it. We're going to do the string here. Next, we're going to convert the JSON to an array. Now we got our data array. We're going to go to our data sheet again and then start populating it. We're going to go to we're going to use a for loop to populate the sheet. Our first data we're going to get is date from our array. And then the next one is cases. And then we got that. And when we go over to this, I'm going to show you this. We're basically bringing in date here and the number of cases. This date is a universal date with the time zone. We're going to cut it down just to the first 10 here. So we just have just the regular date. We don't necessarily need the ending here. So I'm going to do a substring on date. And I put data here, but I meant to put date here. So we're going to do a substring. There, just grabbing the first 10 there. Next, we're going to start populating our table. So that populates our date. Our next one. Oops, populate. Just going +1 here. Let's go on the next row. So that is it. So we're going basically grabbing the last populated row, and then we're just adding 1 to it for column A. So we're going to the next row and the next row and next row and populating those two things. So that concludes this function. Make sure we got an ending here. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And we're missing something on line 40. There's the issue. There we go. Go ahead and save it. I got a mistake on line 50. No, I forgot a period here. There. And we can save it. There we go. We got it saved. I do notice one thing I messed up here. I got to carry these brackets down here below. So I'm going to cut and paste these down here afterwards. So there. So basically we're going through the countries, and if we find it, then we're just going to go ahead and process the API and everything below here. So I forgot to carry that down below. We should be in good shape now. And let's go ahead and save that. So next we're going to go ahead and create a button over on this sheet to call that function. So we're going to go to Insert, Drawing, you do a Submit. Oops. Make it bold. We're going to center it. It's going to be a submit. It doesn't need to be this big, but we'll shrink it down a little bit. And that looks good. So we're going to save it. I'm going to move it over. Try it again. Move it over again. There we go. I'm going to attach the sign a script. We're going to hit Get Data. Hit OK. Before I run this, I want to correct one mistake I found back here. The current row here, I want to add one here to this. If I didn't do this, it would knock out my headings of date and cases. So I'll fix that real quick. I hit save. And I'm going to go back to my sheet. I'm going to select a country. I'm going to say Austria, and then I'm going to hit submit. And there, it starts populating the cases down. All the way down to the 29th, which is not too bad. We're only one day lagging, which today's the 30th, so the 29th is pretty good. You can't really expect too much better than that. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add our graph. So we're going to insert chart. And basically it does is it populates it really for us. And I'm just going to move it over here. I am going to change the range. I'm going to take it down to 1,000. Just so we can hold 1,000 points of data, basically. So that's roughly about 3 years worth of data. And hopefully we don't have to go that far ever, but just this makes it safe so we catch every date. So we can hit OK. And I can take that off. And now we can resubmit this, and then you can see the calendar populate as it's going. As we get down all the way to the end. And we can do another country as well. This one didn't have very many here. And we'll do one more. What do we do? Canada here. And this has quite a few dates, so as you can see, as it goes on, it keeps going up more and more. So that concludes this video. I hope you found this video helpful. I try to make it a step-by-step process so you can understand how this was all put together. So until next time.